In competitive sport, the research behind the technology and the equipment is just as important as the physical elements of sport. And that can involve improvements in aerodynamics to bicycle designs, to improving the geometry. Also, an understanding of the biomechanical properties of the movements involved in those sports is also just as important, and small changes that are made in the lab can then be transferred to make gains within sport out in the field. On top of that, there's the physiological and the mental elements of sport, and all these together will combine to improve athletic performance. And what our stand's going to do is take you through a journey through each of those steps and the processes involved. Over the last couple of years, I've been looking at the physiological and biomechanical performance elements of cross-country and downhill mountain biking. So I've been working with the Swedish national team, and we've been looking at how different suspension setups affect muscle activation, looking at different course terrains and whether that has an impact on performance. The whole reason why I got into this area of research in the first place, because I did race and used to get a lot of people saying, how can downhill mountain biking be start at the top of a mountain and let gravity do everything else? Which was slightly annoying. So we started looking at just exactly how energetic it is. What I actually found was that peak power outputs, maximum amount of power that you can produce, isn't actually that important. But what is important is how fast you can generate that power. So in terms of my training, then I could go away and specifically focus on acceleration off the line and coming out to corners.
So the focus of our work is to improve human performance, but also to prevent injury, and also to explore how we can improve people or improve the rehabilitation if somebody gets injured. And looking at the effect of different designs of running shoes on the impact as the person lands at heel strike. Now, this is a particularly important area, because within a given year, over 70% of people who are recreational runners will get an injury in a given year. So this is a huge problem. Even with all the latest advances of running shoes, we're still getting this high injury rate. So we've developed a shoe which is hopefully going to improve the loading patterns and therefore reduce the injury rates in recreational runners. We do a lot of work which is around rehabilitation and looking at different types of rehabilitation for different musculoskeletal problems. So when the muscles or the skeleton have gone wrong, when somebody's either ruptured something or damaged something within a sporting activity. We've been involved in exploring how injuries are occurring, all the way through to, if somebody has had an injury, how do we then either give the joint stability to allow them to return to sports quickly, or also how to actually rehabilitate in a very controlled and measured manner. So the movement analysis lab here, we have a 10-camera infrared movement analysis system. And what this allows us to do is to pick up the 3D position of little markers that we put all over the body. From these markers, from this 3D visualization, we're able to then construct an anatomical model based on where the joint centers are, to then give us a 3D animated skeleton of a person doing any task. This allows us to then explore what's going on with all the joint loading and all the joint mechanics, and then allows us to work out what is an optimum treatment, what is an optimum rehabilitation, or what is likely to be causing an injury or not.
To be honest, mental preparation is probably the difference between performers. Clearly everybody can train hard. If they're lucky and they work well, then they can get their techniques right. But it's being able to execute that on the day under pressure that's the deciding factor. Of course, the other aspect of the mental side is that people have got to be most sufficiently motivated to do all that hard work in the first place. So there's almost like, if you like, a double whammy of psychology in sport performance. You've got to train hard to get there, and you've got to be able to execute on the day. If you can't do that, you won't be there. And if it's working really well, it dovetails with all the other disciplines that you'll see, the strength and conditioning, the mechanics, the skill refinements, the nutrition, the whole lot.